So there's a quote that you say, and it's not the first time you say it. People live and die and they don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
And in today's day and age, there's a whole lot of people living, but they're not really doing much. They're just living to live. They don't have a reason to live. And I feel like that holds true across the board, everywhere, every age demographic, everything. It's also very difficult to find your purpose and to understand why you're placed on this earth. Because if you think about it, if everybody knew what their purpose was, everybody would be happy. There wouldn't be wars. There wouldn't be, at least in my opinion, everything would be almost perfect. If everybody lived to their full potential and they lived doing what they were supposed to be doing and they were living their true purpose, there would be no fighting. There would be no anything. It would just be a perfect world that we all live in.
And so spectacular, by the way.
Exactly.
Right.
Like it would just be, it would be brilliant.
That's why I say the world's counting on everyone.
Yeah.
Right. Very few people ever do really set out to pursue all their purpose and maximize their potential along the way.
So, and I agree. And this is coming from a 30-year-old that took a very long time to find his purpose. How does someone do it?
So what do you do that you perform really well without trying a whole lot out? Is the first question.
Is the first question.
Yeah. Life is about the questions, not the answers. Because the answers always change, right? The questions remain the same. So, right. So what is it that you do that doesn't take much effort, but yet you perform really well at it? You just have this natural gift. Everyone has an answer to that question. You go, yeah, I know what that is. Therein lies your purpose. There it is. Because in the world, people pay for 10s. People don't pay for 3s, right? And if you're going to look at it through a scale of a 1 through a 10, if I have a gift of public speaking and presenting that I'm like a 7, if I work really hard at it, I might get myself to a 10. And now I'm world class. But if I had this thing where my cooking ability, I'm a 3, and I work really hard at it, I'm only going to get it to about a 5. People don't pay for 5s. People pay for 10s. So what is it that you do that doesn't take a lot of effort and energy that you're just naturally good at it? Take that and build on it. It really is that simple. And what is it that you would do without being paid to do? That's another question you should ask yourself.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people gear their life towards the money. You know, like where is there a lot of money? And then we make decisions as a young person. Well, I can get this job because this job pays $20 an hour. And then they do that for the rest of their life because they did it as a thing that's for money in today, and it becomes the rest of their life. But they never meant it to be like that. When I was younger, I used to pull spikes on a railroad. I was paid $16.06 an hour to pull spikes. It was a big dollar back then, right? Because this was a long time ago, and it was a big number. But I knew I wouldn't be pulling spikes the rest of my life. But it would be very easy to get sucked into that. Because the check seemed huge, right? And it's like, wow, I'm going to stay with this. Keep pulling spikes.
That's a cool to keep pulling spikes, right? I think that's something you can just for like your circle of people.
Right.
Yeah, it's, man, because I remember going through it, because a lot of times I feel people want something and it's not their purpose and they never coincide. And therefore they think they want something, but because it's not their true purpose, they continue to work at it. And I think that's why they're miserable. They're stressed out. They're this, that, because it doesn't align with what they're supposed to be doing. But a lot of times with people's true purpose, the money doesn't come with it. I'll say this for like the perfect example I can think of is teaching. That's just a perfect example. I have friends whose wholeheartedly you just, when you talk to them and they talk about teaching, you're like, oh, you're supposed to be teaching. You're supposed to be, you know what I mean? They don't complain. They love the long hours. They don't care about going to bed at 1 a.m. because they're great. They don't care. Like there's just like, I love what I do. And they don't get, I mean, if you look at a teacher's salary, granted some areas, but just like it's always the topic of conversation with teaching. It's like, teaching almost isn't a livable wage, but yet what teachers are doing to get the children of today to tomorrow, essentially.
Sure.
You got to love what you do, but willing to sacrifice the other things because money's not always tied to it.
No, never. Well, money's never tied to purpose, ever.
Yeah.
Not one time.
But people think it does. And that's what I'm trying to get across. People are like, well, if I do this, then I can make this money. It's like, well, then you're totally looking at it the wrong way. You're looking at it completely backwards. Because if you're doing this just because of the money, then there is that's not your purpose.
Sometimes it takes like, I was like this. When I was younger, I wanted to make a lot of money. I wasn't even thinking about my life's purpose. I actually didn't even care really back then. It was like I just wanted to make money. So I was setting out and I was making a lot of money here, making a lot of money there. And then like the excitement does wear off over time. So sometimes it's okay to be doing this. Like I wanted to race the World Cup. Is it my life's purpose to race the World Cup? I really don't think so. But I'm going to use that as a springboard to actually pursue my life's purpose, to add value to people's lives. I want to build up other people so then in return, I'm actually building up myself along the way, right? But I can use all these accomplishments in my life to go, look, if I'm a guy from a little town in Pennsylvania that I'm like, 5'10", 5'11", weigh about 160 pounds, all wet, and I can go and make the World Cup team racing in the little mountains in PA, guess what you could do? You can do anything you want. And I've kind of proven the point here.
Yeah, we're like in that way too. I'm the same thing with film.
Right,
Like if I'm some guy in Pennsylvania that in the backwoods and going out to LA to film, then you can do it too. But then that begs a question, because now you're skiing again. Right? So you went skiing, raced the World Cup, did what you did. Then it was almost like, I don't want to say call it a hiatus, because
I've taken breaks. Like
you've taken the breaks, right?
Yeah.
And then but now you're back. So again, I'm not challenged. It's just more like, it's just an interesting dynamic, because now you're finding your way back to skiing. So it's like,
there'll be a Wikipedia page, and it'll say
skiing career.
Not kidding. Yeah, it'll be and the oldest person that raced the World Cup was Randy Detrick at this age, and so they'll be like, oh my God, are you kidding me? It's like you're almost 50 years old and you're racing the World Cup. Like, yeah, anything's possible. We should use it to our advantage.
Wow.
Yeah, the human body is the only thing designed. The harder you work it, the stronger it gets. And people.
You see what I'm getting at with the
right.
purpose thing? It's people don't know. And it's like, really, you're living your purpose every day. You should be living your purpose every day. Right. And it could potentially get you to what you think your purpose is, as long as you're living what your true purpose is today.
Right. What's possible is only possible until someone does it. And those are the barriers that I want to break through with life. Like,
interesting. That makes, it
makes sense, right?
Especially because you hear it. Like, I always bring that. I'm sorry, I cut you off. It's just that I always used our town, right? Like Salisbury, Pennsylvania, the Poconos. Every time you go around the country, no one hears it. You don't even know one knows about it. And it's like, because it's almost like, I don't want the town to be forgotten in a weird way. It's in the same way with you. It's like, how does somebody in the back hills of the Poconos that owns a winery, he's going to be skiing at the World Cup at his age? Yeah, because anything's possible. That is a crazy thing to say out loud, but it's awesome to say it. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, because you're breaking the barriers. Because then that 7-8-year-old kid in high school, that's like, well, what's going on in my like I was when I was in high school. I was like, no one in my town has done anything. And all of a sudden they hear the story of Randy Detrick, or they hear the story of Ralph Lucchese. It's like, wait, they did all this? Yep, and they lived right there. That place right there. Who would have thought? Breaking barriers. That's like but you only get to that point by finding your true purpose.
What happens is, but when you dream big and you aim big and you set goals that no one else in the world has ever achieved, what happens is you lift everyone with you. Everyone around you gets lifted along with you. Because if I'm setting a goal to race the World Cup at how old I am right now, by default, everyone at Blue Ridge will be like, oh yeah, we dream big around here. Huge.
I see.
And everything goes up.
It reciprocates, right?
Yeah. I mean, my children, like imagine the way they're going to see themselves. Well, dad does this. When we did, it's a lot of it's about influencing the people around you. And when you're striving for greatness, the people around you are going, well, if he can do it, I can do it. Of course. Yeah. And when I did the commencement speech at ESU, I made sure that my kids were there for at least one of them, because I wanted them to see dad on stage. I wanted them to go, this is who we are. This is what we can do.
I love that.
Right. Me too. Right.
Yeah.
It's so great. I mean, it's
like you're holding yourself to a standard, but it's like you're setting that example. Like, this is just us. This is what we do.
This is what's normal.
You can do this because dad does this.
Right. It's normal. Right. I mean, if you grew up in a world where your mom was a US Open tennis champion, and so is your dad, and so is her mom, and so is his dad, and so on, guess what you would be?
A tennis champion.
Right. You would too. Right. Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Strive for the future.
I'm with you.
Thanks,
Purpose,
Randy.
potential.
Absolutely.